8 of Federalist 84. We're going to start with paragraph 20, and I think there's only 3 paragraphs left here. So again, like I said, I'm going to review with you some of the names of the professors, scholars that you should definitely, if you can't read their books, definitely watch their lectures, talks, discussions on C-SPAN, on YouTube, on different websites of different universities, and you'll learn so much from them. Here's one. This is Gordon Wood, Joseph Ellis, Jack Rakoff, Peter Onuf, Pauline Mayer, Carol Birkin, Woody Holton, Gordon Lloyd, Rosemary Zakari, Akhil Amar. I know there's tons of names, so when you read these books, at the end there's a lot of recommendations. When you read their books, there are lots of recommendations, suggested reading that will help you. Of course, I've mentioned Teaching American History already, and a book by Daniel Walker Howe, H-O-W-E, Howe, Making the American Self. That one is a good book. I highly recommend it. And a book by Woody Holton, Unruly Americans. I'll just leave that there on the screen. I like this book because there's a couple of chapters on it that talks about faculty psychology. When you start reading, like Federalist 10, Federalists like that, those two chapters will help you a lot in understanding what the founders, who they looked up to, what kind of philosophy / psychology influenced them a lot. Some of the Enlightenment philosophers of Scotland at the time, how they influenced the American founders, professors in the universities. So you'll see that. And this book talks a lot about the issues of credit and creditors and debtors. And there was one book that I read that I liked a lot last year. It's a brand new book last year. The Framers' Coup. And that one is a really good book too. I believe I've shown it to you before. So let me go ahead and read the last 3 paragraphs of Federalist 84. Let us now see what there is to counterbalance any extra expenses that may attend the establishment of the proposed government. The first thing that presents itself is that a great part of the business, which now keeps Congress sitting through the year, will be transacted by the President. Even the management of foreign negotiations will naturally devolve upon him according to general principles concerted with the Senate and subject to their final concurrence. Hence, it is evident that a portion of the year will suffice for the session of both of the Senate and the House of Representatives. This one is simple and straightforward. It says, you're saying that, well, by having a president, we're going to have to spend more money and pay his salary. He says, well, what will happen is that the amount of work that the Senate will do will decrease. The amount of work that the House will do will decrease. And that way you'll just break even, financially speaking. We may suppose about 1/4 for the latter and 1/3 or perhaps 1/2 for the former. The extra business of treaties and appointments may give this extra occupation to the Senate. From this circumstance, we may infer that until the House of Representatives shall be increased greatly beyond its present number, there will be a considerable saving of expense from the difference between the constant session of the present and a temporary session of the future Congress. Right now, it says under this old Constitution, the Congress is always in session. But when we go to this new Constitution that we want you to ratify, things change. The amount of work that the House has to be in session, the amount of work that the Senate has to be in session will decrease, and all the money you save there, you can actually spend it on all these important new offices that we have created to make your government work better. But there is another circumstance of great importance in the view of economy. The business of the United States has hitherto occupied the state legislatures as well as Congress. Not only Congress has to do some of the business of the national government, but the states have to also participate. So it costs them money on the state level. The latter has made requisitions which the former have had to provide for. Hence, it's happened that the session of state legislatures have been protracted greatly beyond what was necessary for the execution of mere local business of the state. So state legislatures had to sit in the state legislatures longer to come up with the money than the national government wanted. He says now the national government is going to be paying its own way. We've already talked about it. So the state legislatures will save money, and that's money in your pocket, so the cost will become less actually. More than half their time has been frequently employed in matters which related to the United States. Now the members who compose the legislatures of the several states amount to 2,000 and upward. Can you believe that? Those 13 states, they had over 2,000 state representatives, which number has hitherto performed what under the new system will be done in the first instance by 65 persons and probably at no future period by above a fourth or a fifth of that number. So he says when you're playing that numbers game, remember that right now over 2,000 people have to show up at state legislatures to run the state's business. We're talking about 65 members to the House of Representatives and 26 senators and one president. And of course, some Supreme Court justices and some federal judges. It says when you do all the math with the importance that our country is going to have in the future, that's nothing. The Congress under the proposed government will do all the business of the United States themselves without the intervention of the state legislatures, who thenceforth will have only to attend to the affairs of their particular states and will not have to sit in any proportion as long as they have heretofore done. This difference in the time of the session of the state legislatures will be all clear again and will alone form an article of saving which may be regarded as an equivalent of any additional objects of expense that may be occasioned by the adoption of the new system. The result from these observations is that the sources of additional expense from the establishment of the proposed Constitution are much fewer than may have been imagined, that they are counterbalanced by considerable objects of saving, and that while it is questionable on which side the scale will preponderate, it is certain that a government less expensive would be incompetent to the purposes of the Union. So we'll have to stop here. Please review and some of these videos. Start watching some of these lectures given by these various professors that I've mentioned. Watch a lot of C-SPAN. Watch all these lectures here at OU Institute for American Constitutional Heritage, and tons of other videos that I've mentioned over over the reading of these Federalists. So I'll be with you to read Federalist 85 in the next video. I really am so blessed and I'm so thankful to have been able to read these Federalists for you, with you, and hopefully they'll be of some assistance to you in the future.